Hi, my name is Gabrielle, and I'm the creator of the channel TheRoadMostHigh. The idea of this channel is to really launch people forward in subconscious reprogramming, which is really the essence of shadow work. It's really where everybody starts in their spiritual journey, is the shadow work, your Saturn return, where you're being faced with all of your repeating patterns and your habits and your beliefs. And I thought I would just come on here and share with you my story, my awakening, to let you know what's common, you're not alone, and also, honestly, just to be vulnerable and be in front of people. Through shadow work, it's been enlightened to me that I have a fear of being seen by people. In grade school, it was kind of like, you don't want to have the wrong answer, so you wait for someone else to answer, or I'm going to get a bad grade, and you just assume the worst. And yeah, so I have this fear, and so I'm here being vulnerable with you, really living what I teach, in that it's all shadow work. But on the other side of it is comfort, growth, and subconscious reprogramming. So yeah, I just wanted to share with you my spiritual awakening, and if any of it resonates, or if you have any questions, please comment below. I would love to have a community and we can be vulnerable with each other. So my spiritual awakening was in 2018, February to be exact. And it was on the tails of a really, really tough time career-wise. I worked with a Fortune 100 company. I started at entry level, and I was kind of working my way up from there. And I took this job in order to get a promotion. And the job was just toxic at this company. And it was like 45-hour work weeks, and then mandatory overtime, unpaid. Any sick time that you took needed to be made up as overtime, and I was doing the job of 2 salary grades above me, and my manager promised me that this would be the fastest way to get the promotion that I was so eager for. This would prove myself to HR and leadership that I was worthy of that promotion. So I was really stretching myself pretty thin, taking challenges that I didn't have a lot of experience in. So every day it was kind of like a war zone. It was like, what can I figure out the fastest and be the best at, because I want this promotion. And also I was in graduate school at the time, so I was writing papers every week and also doing this. And I had just gotten married, and we had just bought a house, which was a big amount of debt for us at the time. And yeah, it was just really stressful. It was a lot of uncertainty, and ultimately I ended up being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, which is not surprising now that I know more about the spiritual path. I'm honestly thankful for that autoimmune disease, because it woke me up. And it's funny because I was diagnosed with it only a couple of months before my Saturn returns. And I'm not super versed in astrology, but I kind of am a little here and there. And if you don't know, the Saturn return is when you're like 27, 28, 29, 30-ish. And it's when the planet Saturn comes back and is in the same place it was the year that you were born, the day you were born. And Saturn's kind of known for being kind of strict. It forces you to learn your lesson, and it's kind of like the parent authority that says, you need a reality check. Like, let's see how you're living life and if it's working for you. And so a lot of people experience a spiritual awakening around Saturn returns, I think, just from what I hear of friends and online. So it really wasn't surprising that I got my autoimmune disease right around then. And I vividly remember going to the dermatologist. It was plaque psoriasis, and I had a patch on my thigh, and I recognized it because my grandmother really, really suffered with it. I mean, on her forehead, on her elbows, it was pretty severe. And so I recognized it, but I went to the dermatologist just to hear the diagnosis. And she took one look at it and said, yeah, that's what it is. Let me write you a prescription for topical steroids, and you can keep that in your purse. Whenever you have a flare-up, just put a little on there and it'll be fine. We'll keep an ongoing prescription open for you. And, having seen my grandmother struggle with it, it just wasn't for me. And I respectfully told her to keep her prescription, and I was going to find a way to get rid of it on my own. And at the time, it's like I didn't know anything about holistic medicine, really. I just knew that I wasn't going to take topical steroids. So after that appointment, I got online and I looked at how do you cure this? How do you cure this naturally? And I came across dietary healing. So eating more whole foods, less processed things. Vegan came up a lot, vegetarian, plant-based. And so, I was so committed to not having the outcome that my grandmother did that I went vegan overnight. I'm no longer vegan. I have a real respect for that community, but 3 weeks of being vegan and my flare-up was completely gone. And I was vegan for about a year, and then I decided that I was going to be vegetarian and then eventually pescatarian, which is where I'm currently at. And I've had no more plaque psoriasis. It's never come back. And I just want to say that story to let you know that if you have some kind of a diagnosis or your health is asking for your attention, it's possible that it's the precipice of your spiritual awakening. It's asking you to pay attention to your reality, to make different decisions, and to look at your habits. And I say that with love. I really, really do. I certainly do. And so that's when my spiritual awakening started. All right. So 2018, February, I healed my autoimmune disease. And I think from then it kind of registered to me that, wow, Mother Gaia, the plants, they're medicine, and I wanted to know more about it. It felt so mystical, and I just wanted to know more. And then I got really into like gardening and crystals and kind of the superficial spiritual things, and they felt cool and trendy, but then the shadow work started. Oh, the shadow work. So Saturn returned, had high expectations, and really woke me up. And it kind of all started with me losing a friendship of 6 years kind of over the weekend. I just kind of woke up and was like, this is toxic. It's almost like when you have a spiritual awakening, a veil is lifted. The illusion is like, it's almost like you couldn't see through it, and now everything becomes more clear, and you're kind of like, this person always kind of agitated me, but I just figured everyone, has their quirks, and I can be accepting, and it's fine. But it's like with a spiritual awakening, it's almost like you suddenly start to realize that I'm valuable. My time is valuable. The space I occupy on this earth is valuable. And you just start loving yourself more, and relationships fall away. And the reason for that is because quantum physics teaches us that everything is energy, actually 99% energy. If I remember, maybe it was 95. Anywho, significantly energy. Actually, like, physical things are a very small percentage. And so when you have a spiritual awakening, your energy goes up. Okay, so now you're vibrating here, but your old life is here. And so you literally are not a match for it anymore. You don't have the same level of understanding of those people anymore, from a place of compassion, because you see things as, well, I'm valuable, so why would I be treated that way? But they see it as, well, this is respecting somebody. You don't talk over somebody. You don't speak up for yourself. You kind of brew in silence. Everyone does that kind of thing. But when you wake up, you realize, no, that's not what I'm going to put up with anymore. And you'll start to kind of lose relationships. And it's kind of a beautiful thing if you think about it, because your energy is better served with people that can appreciate you, and you can appreciate yourself. And it can be a long process. I'm not saying that overnight my whole life changed, but I had a significant mother wound, and my best friend fell away. It was a very competitive friendship, and it just ended, and it felt like a huge relief. But I won't lie, a spiritual awakening at first can feel very isolating. It can feel like nobody understands, and you try and explain these things and their consciousness can't hear it. Literally, you're not vibrating at the same level, and so you're kind of veils and ships in the wind, and it's okay. But as you keep going on your spiritual awakening, you start looking inward more, and you start self-validating, and you start being okay with silence. You start being okay with sitting in nature and just hearing the breeze and seeing that everything is magic. And that's where your excitement comes from. That's where your connection comes from. It's not so much validation from other people. But I'll get back to my story, I guess, is I started feeling really isolated from my friends, my family, my husband, my job, my coworkers, because I had changed and they hadn't. And I sought connection through books and YouTube and paid communities like Mind Valley and Rose Gold Goddesses, and I even did some manifestation challenges with YouTubers and those kinds of things. And the community felt good. It felt good to know that somebody understood, somebody's been through this. And yeah, I read so many books and podcasts. I mean, Wayne Dyer, Psycho-Cybernetics, Abraham Hicks, reality transurfing. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, hundreds of books and hours of content, just trying to make sense of what's happening. And, you know, I really wanted to come to YouTube and start my own channel, specifically because I think, for me, I found the best shallow pool to step into an awakening. I really believe that. Through subconscious reprogramming, you don't have to do this shadow work and all the painful shedding of your old self during your waking hours. I did that. I did that for 3 years, and it was hard and slow and really confusing and painful at times. And just kind of hard because you're trying to pay attention to your normal life and continue your flow. I mean, you have responsibilities. You're in relationships, you're in friendships, you have a job, you have all the assets that you came into your spiritual awakening with, right? So it's like you can't just get there from here. It's a journey. And yeah, so it's like when you're trying to go through all that shadow work in your waking hours, it's just so taxing because you're trying to affirm to yourself during the day so that law of attraction doesn't bring anything bad in, and yet you have your old habits and your old friends and you're trying not to be judgmental, but you are being kind of judgmental because you see the contrast, and it's just tough. But when I discovered subconscious reprogramming while you sleep, I mean, I jumped leaps and bounds quickly. And I'll tell you why. It's because if you did the math, say you're awake for 16 hours a day and you sleep 8. So for 16 hours a day, you're trying to change your habits and you're trying to affirm to yourself and you're trying to be very conscious the whole time. And at best, I mean, you can do that for a part of the day. I mean, your subconscious accounts for 95% of your attitude, behavior, your actions, whatever, the way you move, your hand gestures, your voice pitch, everything is your subconscious mind. It's what's been programmed to you. Maybe you share similarities with your parents or the friends you grew up with. And so 95%, I mean, let that sink in. And so you're fighting against 95% of your cognitive power every time you're awake for these 16 hours, because only 5% of your brain is the conscious mind. So the mind that says, I will affirm that I am growing, I'm abundant, the money is coming. It's not an easy task. And that's why people say the journey is years. The spiritual journey is years, because imagine the amount of time it takes to shed when for 16 hours a day, 5% of your mind is actually reprogramming your subconscious. So now take for account your sleeping. Say you sleep for 8 hours a night. And when you're sleeping, your subconscious is wide open. It's a sponge. It will take in everything just as fact. It doesn't judge it. It doesn't say, I won't take that in or I will. It just soaks it in and it becomes true. And that's where the magic is, because then the 95% is working for you. It's working for you. It just soaks it in. So with flat headphones, like a headband, they sell them on Amazon, Bluetooth, connect it to your phone and listen to subliminals overnight. And, it's incredible when you really consider the difference between waking spiritual development and sleep. Because, so you're awake for 16 hours, 7 days a week. For 21 days, they say it makes a new habit. That's over 300 hours to reprogram your brain. And that's if you're completely conscious for 16 hours. That means you are not falling into old patterns, old thought patterns, old limiting beliefs. 300 hours, best case scenario. But when you're sleeping, it's guaranteed that your subconscious will accept it. It's guaranteed. And let's do the same math, so 8 hours a night, 7 days a week for 21 days. That's half. That's half the amount of time, and it's guaranteed. So in 6 months of subliminal messaging, you will do the work that best case scenario you could do in a year. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. It's incredible. And so whether it's my subliminals or somebody else's, I just encourage you, if you're really committed to the spiritual path and self-realization, please, please, please find videos that you enjoy. And I would start by looking at your limiting beliefs. And the best way to do that is to decide what it is you want in life. What do you want? Is it a new car? Is it not living paycheck to paycheck? Is it a new career? Is it a job that pays twice as much? Is it being a public speaker? What is it you want? And when you think about, is that possible to be that? Well, yes, it is possible. There are other people in the world doing it. Of course it's possible. Is it possible for you to do it? Ask yourself that question. You'll start to feel the resistance. Is it possible for me to not live paycheck to paycheck? Is it possible for me to stand up and speak in front of thousands of people? What do you feel? Where do you feel it? Is it the familiar emotion of fear, embarrassment, disappointment? When you can identify what that feeling feels like by comparing it to other memories you have, then you can say, what does this belief, how is this belief serving me? How has it given me safety over the years? Because the truth is, your limiting beliefs are not there to hurt you. They're there to protect you. They always have been. They're a mechanism. And so if you can say, I want to be paid double, but I'm afraid of disappointment. What if I don't get the job after the first interview or the second or the third? I'm going to feel so disappointed in myself. Okay, recognize that. That disappointment is just protecting you. It's saying we won't do this thing so that we don't have to feel disappointed. That's really loving when you consider it that way. That your subconscious mind has been protecting you in so many ways. So to overcome a limiting belief and to know which subliminals you need to override for new beliefs, I really recommend inserting the opposite of that belief into your scenario. So who would I have to be in order to get a job that pays twice as much? Who would I have to be? Well, you might have to be somebody that's comfortable candidly speaking to people. You might have to be somebody that's comfortable with new responsibility, with being stretched, with being expanded in your skill set. So then you can turn it around and say, okay, thank you for keeping me protected and away from disappointment. But if I could feel safety by practicing speaking in front of the mirror or in front of the camera or mock interviews, if I could do that enough times, I could get the confidence to go on those interviews. And then what if I got the job? You know, it's talk yourself through that. But in the subliminal messages way, what I would do is I would do a subliminal recording of confidence mantras, confidence affirmations. Your mind will create new neural pathways to just completely override the old belief. No effort by you, and it's faster because your subconscious is wide awake. So I have lots of affirmation sleep subliminals on my channel, and I will continue to make them because they've completely changed my life. And it's going to allow me to live my best life faster and for more years. And I just want others to have the same. I just want others to have the same. And that's why I'm being vulnerable and I'm on camera, because I'm living what I'm teaching. And yeah, confidence subliminals. I am powerful. I surprise myself often. I'm articulate. I'm charismatic. I'm bolder than I ever thought I was. I'm safe. I'm a great speaker. Others love what I have to say. And just sleep with it on repeat for 21 days. 21 days to form a habit, 90 days to permanently concrete in that habit. So I would say within 21 days, your attitude, beliefs, actions, even the words you choose, they will be different in 3 weeks. I think within a week, you'll see a difference. 2 weeks, you'll probably wobble back and forth because your subconscious is kind of like, but we were this and now we're that. 3 weeks, you'll be that version. I would keep going past that, as close to that 90 days as you feel called to, just to make sure that it's a snap reaction to life. But you are expansive. Everything in this world is available to you. And the only thing holding you back that I've learned in my spiritual journey is you. Is your beliefs, is the walls that you've put around yourself, the walls that you've put around your potential. And if you've made it this far in the video, thank you. Thank you for being the audience to help me expand out of my vulnerability. And I really, really, really encourage you to expand out of yours. The other side is everything you've ever wanted. Bless you.